Yes, yes.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so first, the camera, just tell us your name, your age, and where you're from.
My name is Dave GEANEY. I'm 44, and I'm from Clarksville, Maryland.
Okay, fantastic. And no offense, it's just one of the basic things here. How did you get into cake decorating?
I guess you could say it started from when I was a kid. I used to always draw and do art and pottery and stuff like that. My mom used to do traditional cakes, the ones you find in Giant in the grocery stores. And I always wanted a little different cakes, like Hulk coming out of the wall, so I used to help design the cakes for her. And she'd use royal icing and just buttercream, and she'd make the cakes for me. And then when I had my kids, I have 5 kids, it just seemed natural to do cakes for them, and I kind of steered away from the traditional cakes and wanted to do more exciting cakes. So it started out with bubblegum machines that worked, and it moved on, and every kid wanted something different. And I didn't start competitive cake making till 2007, when somebody at work said that I should go into competitive cake decorating. Didn't know it was an activity.
Okay, excellent. So you started in 2007 competitively. Tell me about your first cake competition experience.
The first cake competition, actually, one of the guys at work told me I should do something, so I went home and looked it up on the internet, and it just happened to be on my birthday in 2007 up in Westminster, Maryland. It was a Mid-Atlantic cake show. So I figured, well, I'll go ahead and do it. I did 2 cakes. I did an Irish breakfast, which was on the country table with the tiles and the wood. Everything was cake. The tile, the wood, the plate was made with fondant. I didn't know about sugar paste at the time. I made the eggs sunny side up, sausage, bacon. I did toast that looked like toast. It was the top part of a cake, cut off the corner of the cake. And I buttered it and I broiled it to give it the toast look. I made a cup of tea, had the tea bag with the tea leaves in it. The silverware, I didn't know how to do silver at the time, so I tried to mix it. It didn't work too well, but it looked like plasticware. And a glass of juice. And my other one was a dragon looking through a pond. And took it up there that night, the Friday night before the show. And I was amazed at all the different cakes that were out there. And it was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to place in. I signed up as an adult advance, and I ended up winning first place for the breakfast cake and a 4th place for the dragon cake. It was there I met Ruth Rickey and Norm Davis and Keith Ryder, and Ruth actually convinced me to go down to Oklahoma for the Nationals and told me I could compete down there at semi-pro or even professional. So that was pretty exciting, and so I went down there that year. I drove 9 cakes down. Ended up placing 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in one of the divisions in semi-pro, so that was pretty exciting, and after that I was hooked.
That was pretty impressive. You pretty much dominated that one category, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place.
Yes.
That has to be a huge confidence builder right there.
Oh, that was great, and going down there, and I went down, I had friends down there, and so I ended up meeting some friends from high school. I went to high school in England, and so all my classmates are scattered throughout the States. And so it was a lot of fun. My wife drove down with me, and then she flew back. She didn't want to drive 20 hours coming back. But it was very entertaining. There's tons of cakes on there, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a huge competition there. It's amazing. You just did so well with that. That's fantastic.
Yes. And
so as far as your inspiration goes, where do you draw a lot of your inspiration from when you're creating just cakes that you do for competitions or just for yourself?
Most of the, I can find inspiration almost anywhere. A toy store, sports, a material store like Joann's Fabrics or something. A lot of times I see things, art or things outside or whatever, and I think of, could I do it in cake? And so sometimes I'll come home and I'll just mess with it and try to do it in cake. One of the cakes I brought down to Oklahoma, I did it about 4:30 in the morning we were leaving. I had extra cake, and I wanted to do something chocolate. So I saw a picture of a buffalo that's outside a museum in Oklahoma City, and I said, well, let's see if I can do it. So I did it, and that was one of the ones I won first place on down there. And so that was exciting, and So I find inspiration almost anywhere. A lot of times I like to, if I'm making it for a client, I like to figure out who that client is and try to capture that person's personality or their likes in the cake. And so that helps a lot.
Okay, great. Now, I mean, you had mentioned yesterday when I was speaking with you that you also do photography a lot. Has that had any sort of influence on your decorating ideas, techniques, things like that?
Yes and no. I mean, there's a lot of times I take a lot of macro photography of animals and flowers. I love flowers. I have a bunch of flowers in my garden. I haven't really done a lot of flower cakes because that's kind of traditional. I've learned how from Nicholas Lodge and from Beth Parvu and some of the others that show up at these cake shows. And it's fun, and I've done pulled sugar roses. I learned that with Keith Ryder. And so most of my clients, they want sculpted cakes, and they really haven't asked for flower cakes or anything. But yeah, this is part of the challenge of the wedding cake challenges. I don't know what the event's going to be as far as what the criteria is, but I look forward to it. And so, yeah, some of the photography stuff does help. And I do take pictures. I have season tickets to the Redskins, and I sit up in the dream seat, so I get a lot of great shots of the Redskins. And I'm trying to do some cakes for some of their charities. So, yeah, photography gives me a little bit of inspiration. It gives me a lot of the detail work.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially the macro work. I mean, you can just capture so much detail when you're doing that.
Oh, definitely.
I'm sure it helps for any sort of minute details when you're decorating.
Yes.
Now, as far as your cakes that you've designed so far, can you describe for me your favorite one to date?
Oh, no. Favorite? One of the ones I liked the best, I also spent the most time on it, was I did a bar mitzvah cake for one of my friends at work. His son had his bar mitzvah last August. It was an island paradise, and I wanted to make it tell the whole story. So it was three-dimensional. The island came up, and around the island I had glass vases that I made sugar paste and fondant coral, fish, sharks. There was a sunken ship. There were scuba divers swimming on the ship with a shark chasing them. There was a moray eel. There was a lot of detail. I could do a lot of the shells. And then in the front of the cake was another glass vase that I had live fish in. The kid Evan wanted live fish on his cake, so I incorporated that. The top was covered with plexiglass. So any side of the cake you looked at, you could see through how the island comes down under the water. You could see the fish. You could see there's a sunken treasure chest that had jewels that were made out of pulled sugar, crackled. There was a man and woman on the beach sunbathing. There were monkeys up in the palm trees. There was a tiki god in between the palm trees. There was a raft. I used pulled sugar and made waves and had a surfer hang 10 inside there. And there was another guy on a jet ski. So when I took it to the bar mitzvah, I had actually broken my neck 2 weeks before that in a car accident. But I wanted to do the cake, so I did it. I wore a neck brace, and delivered it to the bar mitzvah. And it was amazing seeing all the people there and the caterers and everything. They spent a long time checking out the cake and looking at all the details. And so that was exciting, and that kid can say that, somebody with a broken neck actually did his cake.
That is incredible. Wow. How long did it take you to make that cake?
The cake itself wasn't that hard because it was an island, but all the small pieces, the coral, the ship, and everything else, I'd say over the course of the week before that, I probably spent about 10 hours doing the small pieces. And the vases were the square vases that I laid down on the side, and I used plexiglass sheets so I could pull the artwork in and out. And I used crushed cookie crumbs to do the sand. Vanilla wafers, there were some graham crackers, and there were some coconut cookies, macaroons. So there was different coloration of the sand inside the cake. And so that was one of my best cakes.
That sounds absolutely amazing. I honestly just don't know how you guys do it. It's just incredible.
It's a lot of fun.
Well, it would have to be if you just keep on doing it, day in and day out. Now, as far as your experience just in the cake
I'd like to say that I do bring a different perspective, add a more male scene to it, like the baseball gloves and the football. I like to do shoes and cleats.